Good evening, everybody. My name is Allison Weiss, and I'm the director of Sandy Spring Museum, reporting live from my kitchen in Silver Spring. We do start off our programs with a little bit of background about the museum and discussing the very challenging situation that we all find ourselves in these days. Sandy Spring Museum stands firmly with those fighting against racism, structural disadvantages, and systemic injustice that have oppressed Black people in the United States for hundreds of years. The United States was built on discriminatory practices that were codified in our legal system, beginning with the dehumanization of Native people, followed by enslaving Black people in bondage as property for the financial benefit of those of white European ancestry. Sandy Spring itself stands on land that was once a plantation where Black people were enslaved. We recognize that the museum is the beneficiary of a historically unjust system. We are committed to working towards dismantling systems that perpetuate racism and discrimination in order to build a just, equal society. And tonight's program is just one example of many that we do where we try to challenge the dominant narrative. So with that, I want to welcome everybody and to just make a few very short announcements and thank yous. First, I want to welcome all of you, but I also want to welcome in particular our board members who are attending tonight. Our president, David Hickson, is here, and board members Bruce Evans, Jerry Therian, and Rob Crim is here. And Rob Crim, of course, is the husband of our guest star, Cheryl Crim, the filmmaker. And I just want to thank them. They offered to host this program tonight as a special benefit just for museum members. So we really appreciate being able to do something extra special for our museum members. Thanks to you. So thank you. And of course, I want to thank so very kindly Genevieve Carminati, who is our moderator this evening, who I've only had the pleasure of meeting over Zoom, and I do hope to meet you sometime in person soon. But first, I'm just going to give a little bit of background about Genevieve. Genevieve is a professor of English and college-wide women's and gender studies program director at Montgomery College, where she teaches women's studies, essay writing, creative writing, film, and literature. She's the president of the Mid-Atlantic Region Women's Studies Association and chair of the board for the HERS Foundation. She's also a poet and a writer examining issues of gender and class, power and justice in her work. She's the co-editor of a recent book, Theory and Praxis, Women's and Gender Studies at Community Colleges. So thank you, Genevieve. I'm going to turn things over to you now.
Well, thank you so much, Allison. I'm really honored to be here, and it's so inspiring to be the moderator of this auspicious panel. I'd like to commend you and the Silver Spring Museum on the work that you do, and encourage those watching to explore and support the museum and its commitment to equity, history, and community. And we'll also learn more of its importance in getting this remarkable film made, and of course on convening this panel and event here tonight. I'm going to begin by reading the bios of the impressive panelists, and I'll ask each panelist to say hello when I read her or his name so that Zoom will focus on their window and we'll see their faces. So Cheryl Crim. Hello, Cheryl.
Yes, hello. That would be me.
Has been producing, directing, and editing award-winning television specials for more than 30 years. Her passion is creating films that make a difference. Cheryl has been honored with numerous awards, including 2 Silver Tellys and 12 regional Emmys, and I see them up on your shelf. That's wonderful. It's terrific. Her feature-length documentary, Resisterhood, has been accepted into 13 film festivals and recently won the People's Choice Award and Best Documentary at the One Race Human Race Festival and Best of the Fest and Best Director at the Freedom Festival. Dr. Jean S. Gearon. Jean?
Good evening. Good evening, everybody.
Is a clinical psychologist whose work focuses on treating the long and short-term effects of physical and emotional trauma in individuals. She's a clinical associate professor of psychiatry at the George Washington University School of Medicine. After the presidential election in 2016, the memory of her suffragist great-grandmother, Edith Houghton Hooker galvanized her to create the Women's Alliance for Democracy and Justice. Margaret Morrison.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, Margaret, is a retired public school educator. She has played various roles during her 4 decades plus career as a teacher, counselor, and resource counselor, and as a high school assistant principal. She retired from the position of Montgomery County Public Schools Supervisor of Guidance K through 12. As a woman reared in the South under Jim Crow laws, she has spent her adult life fighting to change immoral and undemocratic laws to fair and just ones, not just for people of color, but for the health of a shared democracy. Mimi.
Hi, everybody.
Hello, Mimi. Grew up in Cairo, Egypt, and immigrated to the United States in the early 1970s. Mimi is a successful businesswoman. Her family operates 4 accredited child care centers in Frederick and Montgomery counties. Mimi is a staunch community activist and advocate for multiculturalism. Last year, Mimi was elected to the Montgomery County Democratic Central Committee, congratulations, and currently serves on the following boards: Sandy Spring Museum, Montgomery Hospice, Emerge Maryland, and Leadership Montgomery. Dallas Chisholm. Dallas, please say hello.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, Dallas. Is a 13-year-old nephew of Margaret Morrison and a student at Sandy Spring Friends School. He has participated in several marches since the age of 10. His Aunt Margaret asked him to speak up and say things about that he disagrees with. Dallas looks forward to becoming a journalist who gives straight facts. Terrific. We need straight facts. Thank you. Very good. Of course, this is just a glimpse of each of these impressive panelists. There's much more to say, much more we'll learn tonight about who they are and what they do. So I'll be asking the panelists some general questions, and then we will take a look to see what the audience may have contributed to our chat, and we'll try to get to those at the end of our discussion. So Cheryl, we'll start with you. To get some background about the film, and maybe you can talk about how did the film Resisterhood come to be made, and what were your reasons for making it? Could you also talk about some of the challenges you faced in making the film? And I understand as well that the Sandy Spring Museum had an important role in getting the film made. So could you speak to that too?
Yes, absolutely. That's where I wanted to start. I wanted to say, welcome everybody. It's so exciting to be here. This is the first panel that we've had outside of a film festival. And we wanted to present it in Sandy Spring at the Sandy Spring Museum for a reason. I live in Sandy Spring, and everyone that you see on the panel here tonight who was in the film is connected to Sandy Spring. And actually there was a little cameo of the museum in the film itself. So it's really delightful that you're here. We wanted to be able to thank the community. Without this community of Sandy Spring, this film would not have been made. And there are so many people. If you are from the community, you probably saw some familiar faces if you were able to see the film. And I have to say, anytime you try to create an independent film, there are a lot of challenges. And we had many, many challenges. But every time I hit a wall, there would be a little door that would open somewhere, and someone would say, come with me, I will help you get to the next level. And so it really is a community film. It was a community effort, and this is my community, and put the most support behind the making of the film. So there are so many challenges, from cameras breaking to, well, I was arrested, but I kind of did that on purpose. What I didn't mean to do was get arrested so early. I was trying to get some good shots, but I think the policemen they're very polite, and I don't think they liked the fact that I was doing all the filming. So I think I was the fourth person arrested but there are some shots in the film that I took with my iPhone with my hands handcuffed behind my back. So I'm kind of proud that I was actually able to keep shooting after they took my other gear away. But it is just, I have to say, as I sit here on September 3rd, the presidential election is 2 months from today. We have 2 months. It has been a long 4 years of putting this film together, because when our current president was elected, I, like most of us, I think, well, many of us, I know the people on the panel with me, were quite shocked and dismayed, and realized that this man did not represent what we believed our country represented. That's what made me decide to create the film. I wanted to show the people that I thought made up America, and give voice to some of the groups that were really being challenged by the president. And so that's what we did. I have to say, if you saw the film, it starts off with a little snippet of candidate Trump. I didn't want to start that way. I didn't want him to be in it. I actually had 4 other starts that I really wanted to do, but we have to place the perspective. I mean, he said all of those things when he was a candidate. He was still elected. And so we had to set up, why did 7 million people around the world protest the day after he was inaugurated? And so, so that was kind of the jumping off point for the film.
Great, thank you. I'm going to ask each of the panelists one by one to talk about their reasons for agreeing to participate in the film, and what you hoped to achieve by participating. So if we could start maybe with Margaret, if you would tell, why did you agree to participate in the film?
That was very easy. It was one more opportunity to express my views to a wider audience. I've been a participant in many, can you hear me? I've been a participant in many marches, but this one brought me to a stage of a much larger one with many like-minded people. And it is so exhilarating to be in a group like the Women's March, where every single person's ideals of what makes for a true democracy is there standing with you. It doesn't take a hero to be a hero. It doesn't take somebody extraordinary to be extraordinary. It was all of us together, men and women, demanding that integrity and morality should be a central part of a democracy that governs all of us. And so I was very pleased that I was honored to be a part of Cheryl Crim's documentary, Resisterhood. And I would do it again and again and again, because it's amazing, not only that, of the amazing people you meet, not just my Resisterhood sisters, but a broader audience. And I'm so appreciative. That's why I joined.
Over your results, I don't,
Wonderful. Can we remind the audience to please mute yourself? We hear somebody. Martha?
She's Martha, but she's not there.
Yes, we can hear you. So please mute yourself. How about you, Mimi? Why did you participate in the film? Why did you agree?
that's funny.
So I did agree to participate in the film because when Cheryl sent to Sandy Allison asking her for if she knew of any Muslim woman who would be interested to participate in the film, And I said, yes, I definitely would love to participate because I wanted to share my story as an immigrant woman who immigrated here. And it was a dream for me to come to United States and pursue my dream. And I did, you know. America before number 45 come was great. I mean, it is still a great country. But when he became elected, I came from a culture where we have dictatorship, where we don't participate in elections or politics at all. So I'm familiar to that. And then coming here and living under that way of life, it reminded me, why did I immigrate here? Why I left my family if we're gonna be live after dictatorship and we have no voice? I moved here to really participate in democracy and have my voice heard and you know, run for a elected official. And I wanted to learn about politics, and I realized that it's a great thing that they embrace a woman from any different background and any culture, as long as you know, everyone can have a seat at the table. So I was so excited to participate, and I was honored to work with such a great team, Margaret and Jean and Cheryl. And oh my gosh, Cheryl, when she told me she got arrested, I said, oh, no, I cannot be talking to her, because back home, you get arrested. Oh my gosh, it's just like, no. But this is America. So I really learned a lot about the American system and how it works for you. And a lot of immigrant people, they think they have so much freedom. And I joke with them, I said, no, you can really enjoy your freedom if you do your civic duty and learn about the beauty of the American system. Other than that, the only free thing is buy one, get one free. So unless you really understand how the system works and let your voice heard and be a part of your community and volunteering, because that's what Americans build on. And those two words, the word community and volunteerism, we don't have it back home. We don't have it in the third world country, you know. So I'm glad and honored to really be a part of this group, and it's an honor to be here. Thank you.
Fabulous. Dallas, how about you? Why did you participate in the film?
I agreed because obviously it was too good of an offer to pass up, and I felt like this was like a good platform to express like what I believe in and to kind of be a part of something that's really cool in my eyes. And I just really felt like when I go and like protest, it was like, it's not really something I just do for fun, you know. It kind of became a hobby, you know. If I really believed in something, then I'd want to do whatever I can to express myself and make sure that people know what I feel. And this was like another way to express and tell other people my beliefs. So I just, yeah.
Great, good. So a good platform. And Jean.
So I joined, you know, not fully knowing where this was going at the very beginning, but I agreed with Cheryl that this was an important thing to document going forward. And as I said in the movie, I didn't know where the Women's Alliance for Democracy and Justice was going to go, but what I did know is that bringing people together was critical so that people didn't fall into the pit of despair and not galvanize, not put any action out there to change this. I also think I represent this very interesting segment. You know, I am the white privileged woman who didn't really pay that much attention to politics. I voted, right? I voted in the presidential elections, most of the primary elections, but I wasn't that politically active because I just felt like other people would do that. I didn't have to do that. I was busy raising children and working full time, and so I'd leave that to the others. And I think that that's one of the reasons that Trump got elected, is that many people were just too passive about this. And so it just, as the movie rolled along and as Cheryl kept documenting, things just kept growing and growing. And it was a real honor and a privilege, and Cheryl is quite the professional, and she's passionate about this. And so just being with her and Margaret and Mimi and Dallas and everybody else was inspiring. But it was very important to me not to, to organize and become familiar with local politics, state level politics, federal government politics, and to educate as many people as possible. So I felt that it was very important, her mission to get out the vote and to kind of spread community education around these issues.
Great, thank you. So I have a few general questions on general topics that I thought would allow you each to focus. I watched the film and sort of pulled these threads out, and then you could each focus on your own aspect. But I saw that the concept of community and its importance comes through in each of your stories. And I thought you could each speak about what community means to you and what you think its importance is. As I think showed in the film as you each went through your own separate missions, may I say. How about you, Cheryl?
Well, I spoke about the Sandy Spring community a little bit, but really there was one thing I wanted to do with the film was capture the feeling that we had at the Women's March. I think that we had been so distraught after the election that when this joyous, wonderful group of people came together, all with handmade signs, and it was this feeling of community that, and just a comfort knowing that there were so many people who felt the same way that I did, that this was not acceptable and we were going to stand up and be counted. So I think that for me is kind of the message of the community. I wanted that feeling to come through in the film, to let people know that they weren't alone, to let people know that they did have a voice. All they had to do was to stand up and use it. So that is kind of where the inspiration came from, that feeling that we had walking around that march.
Thanks. Mimi? Mimi, are you? Oh, you're muted.
Yeah.
There you are.
The word community. Well, I mean, if you want to know what the word community means, you need to come to Sandy Spring Museum. That's all. That's all I mean, I've been here for 45 years, and I lived in this area for 40 years. And that is why I like Sandy Spring Museum, because they open the door for you. They educate you, they welcome you. It's a great place to be. But I remember when I was talking about as an immigrant, and we immigrate here, and we think about the American system and its freedom and all that stuff. There is those two words, that the word community and the word volunteer is not in our dictionary. So when you're telling me that what is community means, but word community means to me, my family, my parents, my father, my sister, the immediate family, that is my community. The concept of the word of community here, it's where you live and where you meet, the PTA, the civics organization. So it has a different concept. So it was very strange for me. How can I consider this? The family is so close, right? So, but here, when you become a part of your community, those are your family. Those are the people you trust. That's why I love this area, and I never wanted to move anywhere. So the word of community to me it really means a lot. And then I felt with everyone we worked together, with Cheryl, with Margaret, with Joanne, everywhere I went, you felt the sense of community. It wasn't like they were looking at me, oh, that woman with the scarf, we don't want to come close to her, she's a terrorist, No, they welcome me, they hug me, they talk to me, just like another human being. So I was so excited about that. And that's why I love the word of community. And I'm not saying this as a commercial thing, but it is true. It is true. Sandy Spring Museum is the place where you really feel and touch and connect with your community. And I want to thank the leadership at Sandy Spring Museum for doing that. So,
Margaret, how about you?
Well, community is a different, well, all of us are in different communities at different times in our lives. There's the family community, the church community, your social community, your work community. But in relationship to Resisterhood, the community that I met was the human community there on the mall with millions of people around the world, celebrating the fact that we are and we can be one. We can be a family, no matter our color, no matter our religion, whether you're Muslim or whether you're not, whether you're Christian or whatever. This is a community. And so Resisterhood for me is that community. And as I view it from the perspective of the Women's March of, 2017, that should be an everlasting community.
Wonderful. Jean?
Bottom line is we're stronger together, right? And so I knew immediately that in order that Trump was going to try to split everybody and make everybody hate each other, and we wouldn't be as strong. And so to pull together, as I said, my women friends and build a sense of community and figure out how to take action was critical. Because if we started to do it and other people would start to do it, it would just grow and grow and grow and grow. So community means power, right? And it also means that you're not alone. And so you feel galvanized, right? You feel the energy, it's contagious. So when we came together that first night for the Women's Alliance, the despair kind of drifted away and we all felt energized to do something and move the ball forward. Now, if I'd stayed in my kitchen and just cried all night, or done something, read a book, it wouldn't galvanize or motivate me or anybody else. So that contagious drive to do something and make a difference, that's community to me. And that's when I feel empowered, I don't feel alone, I feel hopeful, and I feel great strength. So thank to all of you for working with us.
Thank you. How about you, Dallas? What does community mean to you?
Well, in like Sandy, and at the school I go to, Sandy Spring Friends School, we talk about community a lot. So I assume it was like an easy question to answer. But to me, it's like there's so many different ways to answer that question. And I was trying to find the right one. But I mean, it's like about people coming together. And in terms of like Resisterhood, it was about everyone coming together, standing by something that they believe in, and trying to show people and alert everyone that that's what they're feeling. And yeah, that's what I think.
Great, thank you. Good. Power is another theme of the film, including the power of protest, the power of the voice, the power of resistance, the power of the vote, the power of women, abuse of power. What did you hope to say about power in the film? Why don't we start with Margaret?
As a member of a minority community, the Black community to be exact, there has been almost no real power for as long as there has been in America. My entire life has been spent trying to accrue for a Black community and also the human community justice and equality. Because without justice and equality, if you are denied those resources in your life, there can be no power. The existence from 1619 and actually until the present day is a community and a race without power, and without power deliberately based on not just practice, but based on legislation, based on every concept that defines a democratic society. So why do I march? I march so that people of my skin color can enjoy the fruits of a rich and diverse community. I march because if I don't, I can see that there could be no progress. I know that my one voice in a sea of millions has no value, but when combined with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of others, we can exert enough power so that my community, my race, my people can also have power and not feel so powerless. I have felt so powerless these last few months, not just because of COVID-19, but also because of the inequities it brought about as a result of the inhumanity that a person can do and inflict on another person. Without power, you are lost in a sea of people who care nothing about your humanity. My desire is that for people to look at me, regardless of what color I am, and know that my inherent right to be here, to be a human person with human desires, is no different from anybody else. And so I will continue to march. Some people say, well, don't you see progress? Yes and no. And each time I think that there is hope, like I thought there was hope after the Selma to Montgomery March, when so much good had come out of that with the 1965 Civil Rights Act. I thought there was hope there, but I was incorrect, because look at all of the trauma that developed even throughout the 1960s and into the 1970s. I thought there was a lot of hope when President Obama was elected, both times. And yet I knew from the very beginning that the evil that was inside the hearts of so many people just boiled over, resulting in a Tea Party, resulted in a person doing such inhumane things to another human being for one reason only, the color of their skin. And so power and hope and hopelessness is all intermingled. I don't know how to separate one from the other. It comes and it goes. I am hopeful again when I see people marching because of the assassination, the crucifixion of George Floyd. I feel hopeful because so many people of all ages, all colors are there in the march, demanding justice, demanding equality. And just when you think we've overcome, and something else happens, another police killing, another this, and I don't know where it will end, but I do know this: I won't ever end, I won't ever start addressing and trying to correct the injustices that has accumulated over 4 centuries, really. But at my age, I learned that fighting injustice is a never-ending thing, and so you just keep going. And that's why I'm so appreciative of people like Jean and Mimi and Joanne we don't have here, and Cheryl, and all of Cheryl's friends that I have met who believe like me that human value is worth fighting for. I probably answered more than what you asked me to, but anyway, that's my 2 cents.
That was quite eloquent. Thank you so much. How about you, Mimi?
Oh, wow. How can I go after?
I know.
This was great. Yeah. So power to me means hope. Okay. So a lot of people, you know, I carry 2 identity of my race and the identity of my religion. So, and a lot of people think the Muslim women are oppressed, and we don't have any power. and we just stay home and raise our kids, right? And we don't have anything to say or any decision to make. Let me tell you something. I may walk behind my husband in the street, but at home, he walks behind me. So Muslim women are very empowered, and we have so many rights. It's just that our government doesn't really encourage us to have that power. And they always have the superiority of men to be leader of everything. But I say, I am the one who gave birth to that man, my son, okay? I am the one who taught him how to tie his tie and how to tie his shoes. And after that, they tell me I don't have power. Forget it. No, no, no. When they talked about we need to empower women, I said, what are you talking about? We already have the power. It's just that we need to put our talent as women in perspective and go and fight and run. All I need from all those men out there to respect us. We just need to respect. We have so much. Let me tell you about the power. I manage my household. I manage my checkbook. I manage all that stuff. And then, I did not graduate from Yale University or Harvard University. It comes natural for a woman. So for me, when people say we need to empower the woman, I said, just think again, because if you try to empower us more, you may lose everything. So just be happy where we are now. So power to me, it's about hope. And when it comes to politics, if I don't have the power to change things, then why am I here? You have to have hope. You have to have the power. You have to have a seat at the table. I am tired of being on the menu all the time. And they eat my baklava and they said, oh, that baklava was so delicious. And that was it. No, I'm gonna run, I'm gonna win, I'm gonna sit at the table and you're gonna listen to me. So that's power to me. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Jean?
You know, without power, you really have to subvert your needs to the wishes of others, right? And you don't have humanity because you're devalued. And so when people want to take the power from women, that makes them less human, whether you're an immigrant woman, a Black woman, or a white woman, or a Latino, whatever, right? And so to take the power away means you do my beckoning. So power to me means that, yes, you're visible, you're real, you're human, and you have a brain, you have a heart, and you exist in the world. So my great-grandmother fought for the right to vote. And one of the reasons she fought for the right to vote was because women didn't have any power over the healthcare of the children, the education of the children. And she felt very strongly if women had the power to vote, they could then protect their children and marginalized groups of people. She also wrote a lot of books to give women knowledge about their bodies, about sex, about all sorts of things, because that education gave them the power to make choices. That's why she fought for Planned Parenthood and all those things. So when we have a voice, then we don't have to subvert our needs, our bodies, our ideas under others, right? We can talk from the heart and have a conversation with people. Like Mimi says, we can be seated at the table. So power is very important to me. And it doesn't mean dominating, right? It doesn't mean taking power from other people. It means empowering everybody to have a conversation. So it's, okay, that's enough.
Thank you so much. Dallas, how about you? What does power mean to you?
To me, power is like, it could be used in so many different ways. You can use it as a positive or a negative. And in this movie that we made, it's as a positive, you know, and we've seen people use their power as negatives all the time. And the fact that we took the time in our lives just to do this, just to show other people that with power you can do really great things, then other people should be encouraged to do better things with theirs. And you know, I'm just like an average guy, And, you know, and then those other people, everyone knows them. They might use their power for bad things. And if an average person like us, like me, can use their power for good, it should let other people know that there are really good people out there that take their time in their life just to send a message out to people. So yeah.
Thank you. Thanks so much. We'll take a look at some of the questions that people sent, but I just wanted to ask you, Cheryl, the original ending of the film was so inspiring. Everyone was on a high from midterm elections and Mimi's election. How did you decide to move beyond that ending and add on George Floyd's murder, the international Black Lives Matter protests and the subsequent attacks and push back against the protests, the coronavirus, and the other difficult circumstances of where we are today? And why did you think it was important to do so?
Well, that's a very good question. Thanks for asking that. And you're right. I wanted the film to really be uplifting. I wanted it to be inspiring. I wanted to really send out a positive message and to re-energize that feeling that we all had at the Women's March and through different marches, and empower everyone to stand up. You know, I also wanted to put in this film ordinary, everyday, you know, people who were standing up and were making their voice heard. And so originally, that's where the film ended. You're right. And someone laughed when I said, okay, now I have to stop and say, this is where the film originally ended. But the horror that I felt when peaceful protesters were gassed and continue to be for protesting the murder of a man, and many and more men and women as it continues, that was and I say this at the end of the film, that was the fears that that's what we feared the most would happen from this presidency. And so I could not let it lie. I had to take that. It's only about maybe a minute and a half at the end of the film, but I felt that I had to say, you know, our work is not done. Our work is far from done. And you can see, you know, the things that you witness in the film. Goodness, if I did the last 2 years, the film would be 27 hours long. There's so many things that have happened. And so it was just very important to get the message out there that we all have to stand up and we all need to do what we can. And you know, the other thing that's really important to know is it feels good. Those of you who have stood up, who have protested, who have sent postcards, who have knocked on doors, it feels good to feel like you're part of the process. It's healing. And it's uplifting. And so that was another message that I wanted to get out. Get out there and do something and you will feel better. And together we can take the country in the direction that we want it to go. But I went back in. I thought the film was finished, went back in and spent a little bit of time to change the end so that we could say our work is not done.
Thank you. Here's some of the questions from the chat. Some have to do with the film. One question is, do we know what the viewership of the film is at this point? And then others are asking, you mentioned at the beginning that the film will be shown as part of a DC Film Festival in October. Which one? I would love to pass the word. So maybe I'll give you those two questions.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't hear what the first question was.
Do you know what the viewership of the film is at this point?
The viewership. We haven't had too much viewership, if that's what the question is. The audience is anyone who feels like our country is not moving in the right direction. The reason for the film is to get people motivated and out to vote. So originally I thought the film was going to get out, and part of the second question is it's in Film Fest DC. It's called the Washington DC International Film Fest, or Film Fest DC for short. It was supposed to be in April, and it's now going to be in October. Originally the film was supposed to get out and really get an audience through the whole film festival circuit. That's kind of the way you get independent films out there. Now what we're going to do is we're putting it on Amazon and Vimeo on demand starting on September 22nd. So it'll be available, well, not worldwide, countrywide for anybody to watch. And we're going to try and get everybody to watch on September 22nd so we can get a big buzz out there. But we do want to drive people to the Washington, D.C. Film Festival to watch it. It's, of course, a huge community here in D.C., and the more people we can get to watch the film, the better. So that is, the Film Fest DC is October 2nd to 11th, I believe, something like that.
Great. We're being reminded by Rob that everyone should follow Resisterhood on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and get the word out. Another question is for Jean. If Jean could tell us more about her great-grandmother, Edith Houghton Hooker.
What can I tell you? She was one of the first female physicians at Johns Hopkins University. And she could not, when she graduated, she could not practice medicine because she wanted to get married. And she married Donald Hooker, who sat next to her, because they sat in alphabetic order in medical school back then. So it was Houghton, Hooker. And so they fell in love, and he was a physician as well. So instead of practicing medicine, what she did was became a public health expert and wrote the book, The Laws of Sex, which is still in circulation. It was written in 1922, and public health schools still use that book. And it talked about STDs and brothels in Baltimore. There were over 300 brothels in Baltimore in the early 1900s, and women would get STDs, and then their children would be blind, and all things would happen, and then the wives would be dumped. So she was a crusader for the right to vote as well, as I said, because it was important to her that if women could vote, they could vote on the issues that were important to health and their children. She also had a home for unwed mothers on St. George Street in Baltimore, which is right near Gilman School. And she took them all in, right? Because they were ostracized by the communities. And she was a very wealthy woman. She came from a lot of wealth. And as a result, my grandfather would say that they would go to school, these private schools in Baltimore, and nobody would talk to them, because she was out there fighting for the right to vote in Lexington Market, and she went on and on and on. And so she never stopped. She published us quite a bit. Unfortunately, she died in the 60s. I never had a chance to meet her from a stroke, but she was a very gentle woman as well, and very shy, but fierce, never relented. To be in the 1920s and to be writing about sex and have a book called The Laws of Sex, much less standing up for the right to vote. It was amazing. She was an amazing woman. Very inspiring.
Great. This question is for Margaret. Margaret has wisdom and perspective for all. Does she blog or share her views anywhere on a regular basis?
No, the answer is no, I don't blog. Most of my interaction that deals with political issues is with my immediate family, family reunion, and a circle of friends. When I do protest, of course, I generally am by myself, other than with the other, not counting the Resisterhood. So I'm simply one in a million expressing my either pleasure or displeasure about a particular issue. And the only people who really know my innermost thoughts about anything are personal friends and family members. When you're 84, you don't do a lot of blogging. You can barely do Zooming.
We're certainly glad you are Zooming here with us today. Can Mimi talk a little bit more about running for office and what it was like to be elected?
Yeah. Again, it goes back to when I immigrated here and I didn't speak a word of English and I need to learn about the system and all that stuff. And I joined the PTA, and then I received the Lifetime Award for MCC PTA because I created the ESOL committee on Montgomery County Council of PTA because I wanted to help all the families who immigrated from different countries to understand about the education system here and be a volunteer and all that stuff, because we don't have that concept. I mean, when you tell me that I need to go see, when my daughter came back with this back to school night thing and telling me I gotta go, I gotta see the teacher, I looked at her and said, what did you do wrong? You've only been in the school for 1 week. So because I was ignorant, I didn't know that you can volunteer. I didn't know that there is a PTA and, you know, all that stuff. And so when I learned about the system and I became a community activist, everybody said, Mimi, you should run for public office. You should run for public office. Well, it was good that I learned about the community concept, right? I gotta digest that, right? Then running for public office, remember I said we don't participate in politics back home? I said, me running for public office? You think people will vote for a Muslim woman? Forget it, forget it. So I joined the Emerge Maryland program, and I remember I said, we just need to put our perspective in a structured way and be able to go and carry ourselves, because it comes natural for us, right? So in the beginning, I was hesitant because I didn't know, and I didn't want to really get into a field that I will fail, because I was successful as a community activist and all that stuff. Then I said, let me take a shot, right? So the first, I was appointed to the Democratic Central Committee the first time. You know, when you are appointed, I ran against other 12 women, and it took 4 rounds, and I won. So that gave me the power. I said, oh, I must really know something. And then when came the 2018 election, I said, you know what? I'm gonna run, I'm gonna put my name on the ballot, and I'm gonna do it. So that's how I got so encouraged, and I ran for the District 14 in 2018. And I was so excited to have my name and see, because this is something I will never dream about it. This will never happen back home. So I was so happy. And that's, again, it's when you learn as an immigrant, when you learn about the American system and make it work for you, not against you. A lot of immigrant family, when they immigrated here, remember I said the freedom, and they think, oh, I have the right to sue my neighbor, okay? I have the right to say bad stuff about the president, and they're so excited because they have the right to speak. No, I mean, it's good, okay? But you don't go sue your neighbor because you have the right. So you have so many rights, but you really have to understand what does it mean to have the right and exercise it in the right way, you know? Remember I said, the only thing is free is buy one, get one free. So I need to educate a lot of immigrant community about the American system and understand it and make it for you. And you have to have your voice heard. So that's why I want my voice to be heard. I want people to see me as a woman who is capable of running and also making a difference and educate people about the international world, you know? A lot of stuff they assume. I would love for anybody to stop me and ask me, why do I wear my scarf? And instead of assuming, oh, she's a terrorist, you know, don't come close to her. So I always say education is your passport into integration. So if you really want to integrate and understand anything, you have to educate. And that's what I love about America, that people are really willing and they want to get educated. You educated them, if you educate them, they'll be your friend. Ignorance is the problem that we are having. And number 45 is so ignorant about anything that he takes action on. So I wish he can get himself educated and respect any human being created by God and treat them with respect and humanity. because you know what? It's only one God and only one flag. And that flag didn't have a color. So, thank you.
Thank you. Allison, can we ask one more question?
Sure, if there's one more question, go ahead.
I just wanted to ask Dallas, maybe this is a good place for us to start, to stop. What role do you see for young people in shaping the future? And what do you think is the most important responsibility for young people today? Dallas, there he is.
Well, my older brother Brian is 18 now, so he can now like vote and register to vote. So I think that's a big responsibility for like young people to really get out there and vote and make sure that this country doesn't make a mistake again.
Oh.
Yeah. Well said. Thank you so much.
I just forgot. Was there another part to the question?
Well, I think it was, what role do you see for young people in shaping the future?
Oh, well, when I went to the climate change march, there was like a lot of young people there, and they were really just like really feeling like the vibes that were being put out there, and they were really feeling like this is our future, and they felt like that they have some way to control it. You know, I mean, they really felt that they had it was even during school too. So they obviously wanted to really go out and show their support for the cause. And it was just like everywhere. I saw young people over here, young people over there. I saw like all generations just there because they really all wanted, all of us to have a bright future. And that's probably one of the most important things for us. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Wow. Well, that's a very uplifting note to end this program on, because things can be so dark and dismal these days. With young people like Dallas, I think we have happy days ahead of us, and I can say the same about all of our panelists this evening. Oh my gosh, this was just inspirational. You're each so inspirational in different ways. And thank you so much, Genevieve, for taking on the role of moderator this evening. So. Good night, and thank you for coming. I know that our panelists all sort of, when we're in person, everybody kind of hangs out for forever afterwards. So if people want to kind of hang out on Zoom and ask personal questions or private questions, whatever, you are welcome to do so. But otherwise, please keep track of what's going on at the Sandy Spring Museum by visiting our website, and please continue to support this film by organizing a watch party, as Cheryl had talked about earlier. So thanks, everybody.